Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. I am so excited to welcome back to our program today John Schneider. Now, when you guys hear the name, a lot of things come to mind. You know him, of course, as an actor. He's also very big in being able to give back to the community. We spoke to John earlier this year as he was promoting a very big day for himself that he's been able to bring his fans along for the ride. We'll talk to John not only about this year, but also about the new book, what it's been like for him to let the audience into his world, and what he hopes you're able to take away from it. John, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
I'm delighted to be here, Cyrus. Thank you for that. And you told me before we got on the phone here on the air that you've read the book already. My gosh, you're fast.
Well, I read when it first, it was on my alerts, John, when it first came out. So I had a chance to read it before I got the email from your publicist about you doing press for it. So I said to him, "Oh, this is perfect." Well, you know, and John, I have to say, in reading the book, I think one of the big takeaways from me is your humility, even in the face of your success. I mean, people know you, of course, from Dukes of Hazzard and, of course, Smallville, and so many great projects, including, of course, the haves and the have-nots. What do you think has been the key to your staying humble along the way?
Wow. Random months or years of poverty. Nothing will keep you humble like remembering the last time you lost everything.
Yeah.
But I was taught as a youngster. I was always taught that it's important to work for things.
Yeah.
That you appreciate things you've got some sweat in more than things that have been given you. And I think when you are a worker, and I'm a worker, and my wife, thank God I can call her that now. My wife, Alicia, is a worker.
Right.
We are tireless. We think the Energizer Bunny is a wimp. So I think if you've just been given something, then I think there could be a tendency to think you're really cool and you deserved it. But when you work for something, you know, you call somebody, you need a fence in your front yard, and you call somebody and you get home from work one day and there's a fence in your front yard. You don't appreciate the fence. But if you go out there with a clamshell and you start, or a string and two pieces of rebar and some paint, and you mark the holes and then you dig the holes, and then, you know, after a month or so, you finally have a fence. Every time you come home, you look at that fence and go, man, I built that fence.
Right.
And that's a damn good fence.
Yeah.
So I think the work keeps you humble. And people come up to me all the time, and I'm a part, which I realize more as every year goes by, that I'm a part of their lives. You know, I'm not just a billboard on the side of the road. I'm like somebody who eats dinner with them.
Right.
And what an honorable place to be.
John, you talk about in the chapter, and I want our audience to make a note of this. For those who have the print edition of the book, it's found on page 146. But the chapter is, it's not who you know, it's who you are. You said this about that same line about success, and even I think great advice for people who are looking at you as an example of what they can do. You write, another thing that can trip you up a little bit in this business is to think that once you've been in a movie or a series, that it will be easy from there on out. I think it's actually the opposite of that. I think if you are cast in something that becomes a hit, then people identify you so much as that character, it becomes difficult for them to imagine you as someone else. So that makes it a little harder the next time you go out to audition for something and you're in front of casting directors or producers wanting to make something. It takes something to shake them up to not see you as a character you played when you were someone as well known around the world as Bo Duke. And I thought about what an interesting thing for you to say, because you're one who can definitely talk about this, because people do relate. I mean, even looking at the cover of the book, right? I mean, The first thing we think about is Dukes of Hazzard.
Yep, had to.
How did you do it, though? How did you help people to appreciate that you were so much more than that?
Well, I looked for things to do and fought for things to do that were different than Dukes. The only thing I've done really in my whole career that's remotely like Dukes was very intentionally so, and it's Christmas Cards. Yeah. It's the movie it's the 40th anniversary of Dukes, and it's based on the book My Life, My Way. But back in 1990, I fought to get an audition to be in a Broadway show called Grand Hotel. So I auditioned for Tommy Tune, and I won the role of the Baron in Grand Hotel. Now, at that point, Disney had not come to 42nd Street, and I'm not saying that people who are on Broadway don't deserve to be there, but sure, they have come into a couple of decades of what we call stunt casting. Hmm. You know, and I've done one of those shows. It's a great show. Chicago is a fantastic show. But what they do with Chicago is they say, yeah, you've seen Chicago, but now come see John Schneider in it. You know, now come see so-and-so in it. Now, you know, so they get a repeat by changing the casting around with names that you know in a show that they know that works, whether the celebrity is any good or not.
Right.
So just now, when I did Grand Hotel, if you were a TV guy who was on a Broadway show, you had to have the stuff, and everybody knew it. Okay, so I was a Baron, 1928, a Baron Felix Amadeus Benvenuto von Geigen in Grand Hotel, the antithesis of Bo Duke, to the point where people at the stage door would say after the show, tell my wife that you're not the guy from Dukes of Hazzard. She says you are, but you're obviously not. And so I did that, and then I would do things that were different from Dukes. But I had to fight for them.
Yeah.
You know, the only jobs that come to you, if you're a lawyer on television, the only thing anybody's going to offer you is a lawyer job and some other thing on television. So you've got to work to break out of your what's a cocoon, a chrysalis.
Yeah.
You have to work to break out of that constantly, and as I said in the book, more so. You know, so fame and celebrity is a double-edged sword. Yes, you can afford a nice house, but what you see in the view of that nice house is that brick wall that's been built up where people say, climb over this and prove you've got something.
Right.
Let's face it, you think somebody on television is on a successful show. I mean, people think I am Bo Duke. I'm from Westchester County, New York. You know, I'm about as southern as a slice of pizza.
Right.
And but if I was from Paducah, Kentucky, and played a New York lawyer, then I'd be an actor. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
But I recognize that. You know, right. I recognize it. So you just have to work. If you want longevity, if you're in it for the long haul, and I am, because I feel like I've just gotten started, then you've got to recognize the obstacles and you have to embrace them. And you got to put your running gear on and your climbing gear, or get your jackhammer out, or whatever it takes. And I took my shirt off, and when I auditioned for Tyler Perry, I'll tell this in another thing. I didn't mention this in the book, but when I auditioned for Jim Cryer, there was, I think Aaron might have been in the room, but there were a lot of people auditioning for everything, and he had his shirt off to audition for Wyatt. And I looked at him and I said, "You little bastard! I'm in great shape too. I'll take my own. Who the hell are you? Take my own damn shirt off. You want to see Tyler? You want to see where this physique came from? Came from the old man, you know." So I was Jim Cryer.
You're right.
And that takes some guts, but
right.
Like they say, no guts, no glory.
So true.
Certainly, no guts, no job.
Right. And, John, I really, I know this is a crazy time for you, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but there's so much in here that I have to say I was glad that you talked about. I have interviewed you now 4 times on this program, and
right.
I have prided myself over the years. I don't ask anybody personal questions. I stick to what they're doing, because that to me is what you want to be able to talk about, the things that you are doing, the things you've done. But you did not shy away from personal things in writing My Life, My Way. You talked about, just in what you just said about the audition, you even talked about your weight gain when you were younger, and even a few years ago, gaining weight again. And you said about that, and I wanted to share this with our our audience because I thought this was an interesting quote from you. You said, exercise is not about bulging biceps or six-pack abs. It's about living life to the fullest. Commitment to health and fitness changes the way you work, rest, play, your relationship with God and family and friends. I don't think most people look at it that way, but when did you realize that connection with your personal health and your life?
I think right away when I lost that weight. When I lost that weight, I mean, I was no longer the fat kid, because I lost it in ninth grade. Well, the summer after ninth grade. Before that, I was the fat wheezing kid in gym class with the inhaler. I was that stereotypical kid. And when I lost the weight, I no longer had those physical challenges. Was I more popular? Yeah, because I wasn't the fat, stringy, long-haired kid. I still had my guitar. I still played Alice's Restaurant and Jim Croce and all that kind of stuff. Mm. But people looked at me differently. But more important than that, I looked at myself differently because I had a victory. 50 pounds in 2 months is a victory.
Right.
And I still know if I'm up against something now, like the divorce, like losing the studio February 27th at a sheriff's sale, I turned that. A lot of people would say, my life is over. I just lost my dream. Well, no, this is a glitch in my dream, right, because that's an integral part of Christmas Cars, the movie. I didn't do it so I could write it in a movie, but since it had happened, I put it in a movie.
Right.
And when you see it, it's true. You can tell that what is happening on the screen in Christmas Cars is something that actually happened to me. Every word of it, on the date that it happened. But I'm a kid who lost 50 pounds when he was 16, and by God, if I could do that then, and it could change my life for the better forever, then I can do something today. I can make a decision today that will change my life for the better forever, as long as I make a plan and I do it, one step at a time. What the whole how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So had I not done that at 16, then if I didn't have that victory, and you don't have to be 16 to have a victory, you can be any age you want to have a victory, because guess what? You are the youngest you are ever going to be again right now.
Yeah.
So there's no bad time to do a good thing for you. So do it. And then, like me, I've had some terrible things happen to me, but I've always been able to look back at the victories I've had and said, well, okay, that didn't work. Maybe this will. And you go for it.
Right. And I think that is, again, one of the big lessons I took away from this book is that, yes, you share the success, but you also share, the time that weren't as glamorous. You share, the challenges. Even taking us back, John, again, to things I didn't know about, your own parents' divorce and the impact that can make, and realizing that. But I want to end with this one thing, if you don't mind, and that is about the way that the things that people don't always think about, like the Children's Miracle Network, what you've done with, being able to give back to communities, even prisons, going to entertain there. Is that just part of your thank you for the life that you've been afforded to be able to give back in any way that you can?
Well, I think that when you have been given a position of celebrity or notoriety, that because you have it becomes easier to do good things. It becomes easier to do bad things, I guess, but it becomes easier to do good things. And I think you are required to do good things with your position. I've always felt that. I'm not sure where I got that. Maybe from the movies. Maybe, as corny as it sounds, maybe from Jimmy Cagney and Yankee Doodle Dandy playing George M. Cohan. He had a great position in theater, and he decided to write music that would help the boys over there feel better, right? And maybe that stuck with me. I'm not sure. But I know it feels good. So ultimately, there's a little bit of selfishness in there, because doing something for someone feels really good. It does feel better than having someone do something for you. You know, it is true that it is better to give than it is to receive.
Right.
It just is. And that may sit oddly with some people, but try it. If you think that's not true, then you haven't tried it. So give it a shot.
Yeah. And you're definitely living proof, John. Again, everyone, John Schneider has been our guest. The new book is My Life, My Way. John, how can our audience stay connected with you?
Well, johnschneiderstudios.com. You can get everything there. You can find out all about me. Or I have an app. I have an app called John Schneider. It's a free app, works on Android, works on iPhone.
Awesome.
Get a hold of it there. And that'll also tell you what the concert schedule is. And I think maybe because people are loving the book, I'm so glad you love the book, there may be a book tour coming up.
Oh,
so
nice.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes,
yeah.
I will be there. I will be there for sure. John, congratulations to you again, and thank you so much for this time. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. And one more thing, folks, if you want an autograph copy, the only way to get that is through johnschneiderstudios.com because Amazon only has the ones that are not autographed.
Got you. Well, make sure you guys. That's
right.
Great. All right, then take care, John.
Thank you. You be good. Always great talking with you.
And we thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let's make it a great one.